In today's video, we are going to be doing a different take on the viral ghost painting and create these beautiful pieces of art that you can display during your Halloween season. So let's go ahead and get started. To get started on our spooky ghost frame, there are a few items that you will need to start with. First off being some picture frames. I got these from Dollar Tree and I just absolutely love how they look. They're kind of vintage inspired and almost have a kind of a haunted mansion vibe in my opinion. This is actually a chalkboard, two styles that they had. I really love this particular style, so this is the one I'm going to go with. I also found in the Target Bullseye section for $5 this really cute wreath, and what inspired this particular project was this little guy here. So I am actually going to remove him off of this wreath and then save the rest of the elements for another project, but we're going to be using him. Also going to be using some holographic mirror paper, specifically this one that is in this pack. This is from scrapbook.com and it has a whole lot of different patterns, but I really love how subtle this one looks. So I'm hoping to make some die cut ghosts to place in the background. So I pulled some die cuts of ghosts. You can freehand this if you don't have a die cutting machine, but this is a die cut set that I also got from scrapbook.com. Their little ghost spooky set, so we're going to be using that. And then for our background, I found at an art donation center this really cool background. This is actually a calendar and it says it's from the Portfolios of Ansel Adams, and as you can see, this was a very well loved calendar with different writing on it, so not going to worry so much about the back, but this is the part that I wanted to focus on, of course. So this is going to be our backdrop. These I may or may not use, I'm not sure yet, but these are from Dollar Tree and these are the mini pumpkins. You get 5 of them and it's in this really cool kind of grayish tone, so I think that may or may not be used. I'm not sure yet. It just kind of depends on how the direction the project is going to go in. And then last but not least, I am going to be using some alcohol inks to dye the frame a little bit. It's just a lot easier than using paint. You can also spray paint the frame as well, but I only want to have some black and gray on the raised parts of the frame. So I am going to be using some alcohol ink for that. And the colors I'm going to be using are Pitch Black and Slate by Tim Holtz Ranger. And then of course you will need a tool to smear the alcohol ink onto your frame. So those are all the supplies needed for this project, so let's go ahead and get started. Starting off with our frame, I've already removed the wrapper from the frame, and now I'm just going to go ahead and remove the backing real quickly, and that is so we can cut the background for our scene. I'm going to be using the frame as a guideline to see exactly which part of the scene I want to have as my backdrop. I kind of really like this area here. It kind of has a very spooky vibe with all of the leaves that have fallen off the trees. So I think I might go with this. So I'm going to go ahead and just place that right down and just outline that. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and trim that out. Okay, perfect. Again, I can save these pieces for another project. So I'm gonna set that aside, and what I'm gonna work on next is gonna be for the frame. So I'm gonna be using my Tim Holtz Tonic Studios mat, and that is simply so that if I get any ink on my surface, using the glass mat is going to make it very easy for cleanup. You can use rubbing alcohol, you can use hand sanitizer to clean up any alcohol mess, so that way I don't stain any of my other surface. So I'm going to be using a dedicated sponge for my alcohol inks, and starting with the black, I'm going to go in and just put a really good amount onto my sponge. And then with my slate, I'm just going to go right on top of that. Okay. So now I'm just gonna kind of dab this on the side here to mix those two colors together. And then I'm gonna lightly kind of go over these edges. Just going over all of the raised edges. And then if you want to remove any of the alcohol, you can just take a napkin and just remove as much as you need before it dries. All right, so this is what the frame looks like after we have added the alcohol ink, and it does dry very quickly. So when you are working with the alcohol inks, you gotta work very quickly because it does evaporate because it is alcohol. So now I'm just gonna go ahead and clean up my mat, and to do that, I'm just gonna use some isopropyl alcohol, put that on a napkin. Normally I would have a spritz bottle, but don't have one on hand. And then look at how easily that just cleans up. So now your mat is ready for the next usage. So next what we're gonna be doing is we're gonna die cut our little ghosts. And if you don't have, again, a die cutting machine, you can just simply freehand the ghosts very easily, but I am just gonna go ahead and use this since I do have a die. So I'm just gonna use the Sizzix, and this is the Tim Holtz Sidekick. So I'm gonna just put that right down onto my surface. I'm gonna go ahead and get the paper I'm going to use. Here are our little ghosts, and they have this really beautiful iridescence to it. So I'm gonna go ahead and set these aside, and now we're just gonna cut out the little eyes. Okay, so we have our ghosts and our eyes die cut. To adhere that, I'm just gonna use the Art Glitter adhesive. So here are our little iridescent ghosts, really, really cute. I'm gonna go in with some Black Soot, the Distress ink, and just ink around the edges just to make them stand out just a little bit. So just kind of very lightly go around the edges here. Now we're gonna go ahead and adhere our background to the back of the backing for the frame. So I'm just going to use some double-sided adhesive for that and just apply it right to the back. So now we're just going to place our background right on the backing. Perfect. I just like to go over with a bone folder just to make sure that it's adhered down. We're going to adhere our little ghosts, and to do that I am just going to use some adhesive once again. So this was a little bit of an afterthought. I actually decided to do a 3D pop-up of the ghosts. So I just created some more of the die cuts to use pop dots so that these are three-dimensional. So I'm just gonna go ahead and adhere that down. Sometimes when you're crafting, that happens, and you just kind of have to go with it once inspiration hits you. All right, so I have the pop dots on there. So now I'm just gonna line this up. And look how cute. He's three-dimensional now. I'm gonna go ahead and do that with the other two. So this is how it looks so far. Very cute and three-dimensional. So now what we're gonna do is we're going to put this right back into the frame. So I'm gonna flip this over, situate that like that. I'm gonna add our backing back on. And then, last but not least, we're gonna go ahead and add our little ghost. So I'm gonna set that aside. He is just on a little stick here, so I'm just gonna pull him out. Now, if you can't find this particular wreath at the Target bullseye spot, it's really easy to kind of makeshift your own ghost. All you need is a little styrofoam ball, of course, some white fabric. You can use aluminum foil and shape that into the arms. But in this case, they are using some almost like packing peanuts and glued that down and shaped that into the ghost's arms. You can use whatever you have on hand, get creative. You don't need to have this wreath or find this wreath. So now I'm gonna bring my frame back over, and I think I wanna add him right on the corner there. I think that looks really cute. I'm gonna go ahead and add some hot glue. So this is how our spooky ghost frame turned out. It's such a fun take on the ever so popular ghost painting that has been floating around, no pun intended, and really easy to put together, especially when you find unique items from Dollar Tree or Dollar Spot, or no longer Dollar Spot, Bullseye, but he was $5, but just really, really easy to find some unique pieces and put something together that will be decor for your home in years to come. So in addition to this frame here, I did have some leftover background, and I decided to make a secondary frame using the same techniques. But for this one, I used some Distress Oxide and Victorian Velvet, and I used a little paintbrush and just gave the trees a little bit of color so that they pop a little bit. Added my little ghosts in, added the Dollar Tree velvet pumpkins, and then these little sprigs I took off the same wreath from this guy, and just distressed that with some Victorian Velvet to give that some color. Added a really cute crepey ribbon. So there you go, two very fun ideas that are very simple, budget friendly, and who would have thought using a piece of calendar page to create these beautiful backdrops. So I hope that that inspires you. So if you enjoy seeing videos like this, please give this video a thumbs up, and do hit that subscribe button. It really helps my channel continue to grow and get my videos out into the YouTube algorithm. So I really appreciate you subscribing. I hope you have a wonderful day, and until next time, bye for now.